I know, now I need to turn the mic on. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for a June 10th, 2024 council meeting, either in person or viewing us on our Hartford Public Access Television Station .org or Channel 96, Comcast, or Channel 6032 Frontier Channel. I am now calling to order the scheduled meeting for June 10th, 2024 to order. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bilodeau.
Here.
Councilman Clark.
Here.
Councilman Gale.
Here.
Councilman Hernandez.
Here.
Councilman Micdom.
Here.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Present.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Here.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Here.
Councilman Thomas.
Here.
You have a quorum, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Town Clerk. Can we please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you all. Madam Majority Leader, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Council President. I make a motion to approve the minutes of May 28th, 2024.
Second.
The motion has been made to approve the minutes for the May 28th council meeting and is properly second. Is there any discussion? Seeing and hearing no discussion, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bilodeau.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman Hernandez.
Yes.
Councilman Micdom.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Councilman Thomas.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Town Clerk. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I make a motion to put the following items on consent. 3.1, Mayor Arul Lam with accompanying resolution authorizing the City of Hartford Department of Families, Children, Youth, and Recreation to accept a grant funding in the amount of $6,000 from the State of Connecticut Department of Education for the School-Based Diversion Initiative. 5.2, Councilwoman Bilodeau, Assistant Majority Leader Clark, Council President Surgeon, Majority Leader Rossetti, Councilwoman Rosado, Councilman Gale, Councilman Hernandez. Ordinance amending Article 4, Section 17-76 of the Municipal Code of Hartford for the prohibition of smoking around splash pads and playgrounds.
Second.
The motion has been made and properly second to put the following item on the consent calendar. Item 3.1 and item 5.2 has been properly made and second. Is there any discussion? Seeing or hearing no discussion, Mr. Town Clerk.
Councilwoman Bilodeau.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman Hernandez.
Yes.
Councilman Micdom.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Councilman Thomas.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Town Clerk. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Council President. I make a motion to receive the following items. 3.4, Planning, Economic Development, and Housing Committee, communication concerning an ordinance establishing the Hartford Land Bank Authority. 3.5, Health and Human Services, communication concerning resolution recognizing October as Menopause Awareness Month in the City of Hartford. 4.2, Health and Human Services with an accompanying resolution, ordinance amending Article 4, Section 17-76 of the Municipal Code of Hartford for the prohibition of smoking around splash pads and playgrounds.
Second.
The motion has been made and properly second to place the following item, to receive the following items, item 3.4, item 3.5, and item 4.2. Is there any discussion? Seeing or hearing no discussion, Mr. Town Clerk.
Councilwoman Bilodeau.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman Hernandez.
Yes.
Councilman Micdom.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Councilman Thomas.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Town Clerk. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Council President. I make a motion to refer the following items. 3.2, Mayor Arul Lam with accompanying resolution confirming the appointment of Jeff Ocker as the Director of Developmental Services to the Committee of the Whole. 3.3, Mayor Aru Lamplam with accompanying resolution authorizing the city to apply for and accept Ryan White Part A grant funds to provide core medical and support services to people living with HIV/AIDS in the area covering Hartford, Middlesex, and Talon counties to Health and Human Services Committee.
Second.
Item has been made and properly second to defer the following items to the Cow Committee, item 3.2, and to Health and Human Services, item 3.3. Are there any discussion? Seeing or hearing no discussion, Mr. Town Clerk.
Councilwoman Bilodeau.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman Hernandez.
Yes.
Councilman Migden.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Councilman Thomas.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Town Clerk. Madam Majority Leader.
Make a motion to postpone until June 24th, 2024, the following item. 5.1, Mayor Aru Lamplam with accompanying ordinance establishing the Hartford Land Bank Authority, still in committee.
Second.
Item has been made and properly second to postpone item 5.1. Are there any discussion? Seeing or hearing no discussion, Mr. Town Clerk.
Councilwoman Bilodeau.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman Hernandez.
Yes.
Councilman Migden.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Councilman Thomas.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Town Clerk. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Council President. I make a motion to take action on 4.1, Planning, Economic Development, and Housing Committee with accompanying resolution approving an air rights and sidewalk easement for a pedestrian bridge over Washington Street.
Second.
Great. The motion been made and properly second to place the following item, the action, place the following item on action. Item 4.1, been properly made and seconded in discussion. Yes, Councilman.
Thank you, Madam President. I make a motion to amend the resolution to add the following language. Provided, however, that if construction has not commenced on the old car wash site, which is the northwest corner of Lincoln and Washington Streets, within 1 year of completion of the tower and garage, then the title to said land shall be transferred to the city of Hartford.
Second.
Okay, there is a motion to amend the item 4.1 is properly second. Is there any discussion? Thank you, Councilman Gale.
Thank you, Madam President. So this is something that we have discussed in committee. We have not discussed it as a council at this point. But just to review the background on this matter, the Connecticut Children's Medical Center, in conjunction with LAS Parking, is proposing to build a pedestrian bridge over Washington Street, which will connect a garage to be constructed by LAS on the southwest corner of Lincoln and Washington Streets. It will connect that garage with the new tower that is being built by CCMC on their campus on the other side of Washington Street, the east side of Washington Street. In moving forward with that project, CCMC and LAS had considerable discussions with the neighborhood group, as they should. We know that whenever development, whenever anything is moving forward to the Planning and Zoning Commission wants to hear from the local NRZ. Similarly, I believe council here pays a reasonable amount of deference to the concerns of all of our NRZs. In this case, the Frog Hollow NRZ sat down with representatives from CCMC and LAS and negotiated several deals, the most significant of which is that CCMC promised to build a multi-use, multi-story building on the northwest corner of Lincoln and Washington Street, property that they currently own. They promised to build that once they completed the garage and the tower. And they made that promise to the Frog Hollow NRZ in writing. You've all seen the writing. It was signed by the president of CCMC, along with Mayor Luke Bronin, who assisted in that negotiation at the time. And that writing was the basis for the Frog Hollow NRZ sending a letter of support for the project, the pedestrian bridge. That's the project we're talking about. They sent a letter of support to the Planning and Zoning Commission, specifically conditioned on the promises made by CCMC. The problem that I'm bringing into focus tonight is one of broken promises. In the time that I've been on this council, I can think very quickly of at least 3 occasions when developers have come forward, made promises to us, and those promises have yet to be delivered. Number 1 I'll mention is Willow Creek. This is a housing project being built on the old Bowles Park premises. The developer there promised to build single-family housing. If any of you drive by on Granby Street, you will note that there is a lot of empty land fronting on Granby Street that is supposed to be single-family housing. That was baked into the tax deal and the agreement, the resolutions and ordinances that this council passed. But that has not happened. This council gave a tax deal to Laz, who's a party of this. Laz owns the Talcott Street Garage, which sits behind a parking lot that Laz owns on Main Street, which sits across the street from a building that Shelbourne owns called the Stilts Building. We gave Laz and Shelbourne a tax deal, a significant tax deal, in return for which Laz was to tear down the Talcott Street Garage and to construct, in conjunction with Shelbourne, a new building on Main Street to complete Main Street, if you will, so that we don't have a parking lot there. That was in 2019. It's 5 years later, and to my knowledge, there's no progress. The third promise that comes to mind involves 25 Sigourney Street, a building that we all recently had in mind because it got graffitied. But the developer there promised to fix the parking garage and spend $5 million in renovations. And this was a deal that's 4 years in the making now, and nothing has happened. So I come to this council to say, we need to support our neighborhood groups, we need to support our NRZs, we need to tell developers, and in this case I'm calling CCMC a developer, that we want some security for their promises. So the security I'm suggesting in this amendment is that if they don't do as they've promised, then the title to that land is transferred to the city of Hartford. We'll let Corp Council work out the details on what type of an escrow agreement would be created, but they would transfer title to the city of Hartford within a year after the completion of the tower and the garage, which is what they stated in writing. I'm proposing we give them 1 year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Gale. Any other, Councilman Mitchum?
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to weigh in here to say that I don't know that the proposed amendment is the best way to ensure that CCMC and their partners follow through with what they've promised, but I understand that Councilman Gale is proposing some way, because what we haven't been able to do is get a negotiation about it. It would be better if this body said to CCMC, you need to come to the table and negotiate something so we know you will follow through, which I'm sure they would. And then maybe this wouldn't be the best version, there would be another version, but it would be, in essence, something to achieve what Councilman Gale is proposing, which is to say, to make sure they don't leave us high and dry. And so I'm going to support this amendment for that reason, not because it's the best way, but because here we are, no one has been willing to negotiate. And when I say no one, I mean the members of this body. And that's really my concern here. We do this all the time. You may remember we gave an easement to Eversource to dig behind Weaver High School to connect the gas line to the University of Hartford, and we gave it to them for free, out of the goodness of our hearts. And I complained then too, and it's not any shade to Eversource, it's not any shade to the University of Hartford, and it's no shade to CCMC or even to Laz. It's just that as much as we value CCMC, and I do, I have 3 kids, they have all benefited from that hospital at one time or another. They're not our friend, right? They're a big organization with lawyers and a budget. And we are a city, we are a big organization. We should not operate on promises. What they have said they will do to the NRZ is great. It's perfect. But we are not buddies. We don't just have a handshake and a smile and go forward. We are a city, a large nonprofit, a private company, and we can make contracts. We can have guarantees. I don't know why we wouldn't do that. They are obviously desperate to build this thing. They will make a deal with us, and then we can have some security. And that should be the way we proceed in all of these sort of deals. The tax abatements, the easements, all of that. Because we're giving something away that has value, and we shouldn't give it away on the strength of a promise. So I want to be clear. I support the building of the bridge and all of the other parts of this project and what CCMC has promised to the NRZ. I just think it is irresponsible of this body, of council, as representatives of the city's fiscal interests and representatives of the people's desires for the neighborhood, not to get something that is enforceable. That is just not how governments or big companies operate, and it leaves us at the risk again and again and again of getting rooked. And as Councilman Gale said, sometimes we get rooked, so we should wise up.
Thank you, Councilman Mitchum. Any other comment?
Yes.
Councilman Thomas.
Yes, I just want to also speak in support of this amendment. I think for me, I am very much pro-bridge and would love to see the bridge happen. I think it's important. And, you know, from a personal standpoint, I've heard many people here on council speak to how the bridge would have helped them through their times. I think for me and us as council, we should want to see the other parts of the project come to fruition. Like, we should want to see, you know, the housing project and the other things that CCMC has stated that they want to do happen. And I believe on good faith that they will make those things happen. And I really don't necessarily see a problem with us attaching those things together into this resolution. I kind of do agree with Councilman Mitchum that I don't necessarily know if the language, you know, is exactly correct. That, like, you know, we should hold it, you know, from them. But if they have promised the NRZ to do this work, and that's part of the reason why the NRZ has agreed to have it happen, then we should see to it with the amount of power that we have to make it happen. And I think that's where I stand on it. And I don't want anyone to ever think that, you know, us, you know, Councilman Gale or Councilman Mitchum are against the bridge, because I know through talking to both of them, they very much want to see the bridge happen, but they also want to see the retail there on the retail and also the housing, you know, to be part of it as well. And I think that is for the betterment of the city, for that project to happen in that kind of way. And that's where I stand, and I hope that you guys agree to the amendment.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman Thomas. I don't support the amendment. And the reason I'm not going to support the amendment is that I have been my first term in council, have worked with developers, and we have gotten lots of promises. Councilman Gale always put in clawback to get information that the developers will hold, you know, to make sure the project works. This is one this is one economic development which I believe that the need outweighs, for me, the actual clawback that is needed for this 1-year moratorium to be placed on amending this, this resolution or this amendment. In conjunction with that, you know, one of the things I'm going to ask the Corporation Council also do to weigh in is, you know, we're talking about the Air Bridge for one piece of property, and you're also talking about amending this contract for a separate piece of property. So it's two different, piece of property we're talking about. I know it's the same developer, but two different development. So I'm going to ask the Corporation Council, can you tie a separate piece of property that is separate from this, from the from the bridge that's being built on a separate piece of property?
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I think there are a number of issues, and I don't have all of the contracts in front of me related to the development, so I can't speak to any particular provision. But obviously, the other components of this construction project are not a component of this resolution in front of us now. Much of that deal has already been negotiated and is set in contract, and I don't know if any resolution passed by this council could forcibly reopen contracts that are in full force and effect. I think there's no guarantee that it would generate a reopening and a renegotiation of various provisions of those contracts.
Thank you, Corporation Council. Let me just finish, Councilman Gale. And so when I looked at the clawback or giving back and tying it to this property, I believe that, the Children's Hospital has grown so large and the need is so great that I am going to go on faith, and maybe, not so much faith, but you can't take your children and also not honor your contract with the other residents of the city. So I will not be voting, for this amendment. Is there any others? Oh, Councilman Gale, you want to say something?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I do believe that the City of Hartford has the power to bond, to require a bond of Connecticut Children's Hospital for the construction of the pedestrian bridge. And I do believe that clever lawyering could result in the bond being that they put up title to the property, and that's the bond that we require. But be that as it may, I want to emphasize to council that, we're supposed to represent people, not corporations. Or at least I feel I represent people and not corporations. I was elected by people. I was not elected by corporations. And to Council President's comment about going on faith, that's a wonderful thing, but how many times are you going to get burned? Just on, and just reflect on the fact that part of what Frog Hollow is concerned about, and we should all be concerned about it in our own neighborhoods, but in their neighborhood, Hartford Hospital, another very valuable institution. I've been a patient there. They saved my life. But Hartford Hospital has bought countless properties in the Frog Hollow neighborhood and boarded them up. They're land banking properties. There are 4 apartment buildings on the corner of Jefferson Street and Washington Street. They're beautiful apartment buildings, and they've been boarded up for 10 years. They have the old funeral home across the street, Sagarino Giuliani Funeral Home. It's boarded up. This is not a neighborhood. When your properties are land banked by major players in your neighborhood, it's something for us to consider. I understand Frog Hollow. I fully support them in not wanting that old car wash site to simply be a blank construction site, which is what it is right now. Right now, they're using it as a staging area. Do any of us really want another 10 years to go by with that corner just being a staging area, a bunch of rubble with a chain link fence around it? We have power. We're the city council. And if you don't like the amendment, let's postpone the matter and 2 weeks, and let's see if there's something else that we can come up with. Let's see if there's something that CCMC comes up with that makes everybody feel a lot better. Thank you.
Sure, Councilman Gill. Just want to point out that CCMC and Hartford Hospital is two separate organizations. And what Hartford Hospital has done, so see your hand down, Councilman Mitchum. So using that example of what Hartford Hospital has done, you are now saying that CCMC will do the same thing, and I think that's very unfair for you to point out that Hartford Hospital and what they have or have not done and utilize that as an example for CCMC. Yes, Councilman Mitchum.
Thank you, Madam President. And I actually appreciate the point you make there. And it's not, to be clear, it's not, I agree with Councilman Gale, but it's not because CCMC or Hartford Hospital or any other hospital or nonprofit has ever proved themselves to be deceptive. I'm not saying that. It's because we're talking about business. And in business, when you make a deal with another business, or when a government makes a deal with a business, no matter how blameless, no matter how saintly, no matter how well you know the executives or what their history is, you get the thing in writing, right? Earlier I heard you say, Council President, that the value of this bridge, what it brings to patients, is just too great. And that's never how businesses operate. They say, there's a value, so what do we get? How do we know that we're gonna get our value? We're not saying, don't build the bridge. No one is saying, don't build the bridge. And in fact, if we said no tonight, I guarantee you, CCMC has made very clear, they need this bridge. They will come back to us and they will figure out a way to give us a guarantee about the things that I'm sure they right now intend to do. But taking it on faith from a business, whether it's a nonprofit or a company or anything, it's foolish. It's not a thing that a city should do. It is irresponsible. And so, as Councilman Gale said, as I said, maybe this isn't the best way to guarantee it, but all we have to do is say no tonight, and we'll figure out a way to guarantee it. We don't have to worry about if this is legal, about Corporation Counsel putting him on the spot at the last minute to come up with a complex legal opinion. We can go sit down at the table and we can negotiate a deal and we can make sure it's legal, and it won't hold up the bridge in any significant way. It's not like if we say yes, the bridge is there next week. It's a big old construction project. So all we have to do is show the level of common sense and due diligence that I'm sure CCMC would require of anyone it deals with, because this is business.
Thank you, Councilman Gale. Are there any other discussion? Seeing and hearing no discussion,
Sorry.
Councilman Thomas?
Yes. Yeah, this will be the last thing I say is, I've heard other people talk about how the city has been burnt and how they have, on council, have felt burned from past developers and past agreements and past things that just haven't happened. And so obviously I'm new into council, I haven't been burnt before. And so I don't have that thought process or that feeling towards it. But as someone that's kind of new into the territory, I just feel like us taking some time to figure out how both these things can happen isn't a bad thing. And I think, us, stepping back and just saying how can CCMC be happy, how can families be happy, and how can this NRZ be happy is a good thing for us to do. And I just think that's something that we should look into and try to figure out how to make happen.
Thank you, Councilman Thomas. Seeing or hearing no discussion, Mr. Town Clerk, call the roll regarding the proposed amendment.
Councilwoman Bilodeau.
No.
Councilman Clark.
No.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman Hernandez.
No.
Councilman Micklem.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
No.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
No.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
No.
Councilman Thomas.
Yes.
Motion failed.
Thank you, Mr. Town Clerk. So we are going to vote on the item 4.1. Councilman Gale.
Yes, Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to postpone item 4.1.
Second.
The motion has been made to postpone item 4.1. there is, wait a second, I'm a little bit confused, Corporation Counsel. So the first amendment failed. Now this is a second motion to postpone this item. It's been made and properly second.
Yeah, the motion's been made and seconded to
Okay.
postpone.
Okay. So, Mr. Town Clerk, is there a discussion of postponing the item? Seeing or hearing no? Okay, Councilman Gale.
Yeah, just a brief comment, just in line with the earlier comments, and, you know, as has been stated by Councilman Mictum quite well, a postponement tonight keeps it on our agenda. We're back in council 2 weeks from now. It would send a message to CCMC to come to the table and let's talk. I think it would potentially produce a result that would satisfy everybody. You know, the party of most concern here is the city of Hartford, the neighborhood, the Frog Hollow neighborhood, and all of us, that we get what CCMC has offered and promised. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Gale. Seeing any more discussion, Town Clerk, call the roll for the motion to postpone.
Councilman Bilodeau.
No.
Councilman Clark.
No.
Councilman Gale.
Yes.
Councilman Hernandez.
No.
Councilman Mictum.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado.
No.
Councilwoman Mazzetti.
No.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
No.
Councilman Thomas.
No.
Motion failed.
Thank you, Mr. Town Clerk. Now, can you call the roll on item 4.1 on the, I'm sorry? Yeah, the motion for 4.1 has been made and properly second. You had an amendment, then you had a motion to postpone. Yes, Councilman Gale.
One comment before we vote, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I would just urge my colleagues, my understanding is that this motion has to pass by 6 votes because the Planning and Zoning Commission turned down the pedestrian bridge. I would urge my Democratic colleagues to vote no. All it takes is one of you to vote no, together with 3 other noes, and this matter is off the agenda for the moment. It can be brought up in 2 weeks by anyone who votes no. If you vote no on this and therefore it fails, you have the right to request reconsideration of the matter 2 weeks from now. So if one council member votes no on this, it isn't dead. It can come back. I just want to assure people that that is the parliamentary procedure. Thank you.
Sorry, I apologize, Councilman Gale. Just making sure that I'm doing what's proper. So, Mr. Town Clerk, sorry, Councilman Mitchum, I apologize. Please go ahead, sir.
Just briefly, I would add to that entreaty from Councilman Gale. If we send a message that we are going to start actually negotiating in the best interest of the city now, one, I think we'll get what we want and what the NRZ wants and what the hospital wants. And 2, we will send a broader message to other organizations, to other developers, that the era of us rolling over in the hopes of some development without any concrete guarantees is over. And that will serve the city well in the long term.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Mitchum. Mr. Town Clerk, we are now calling the motion, which was properly second, on item 4.1.
Councilwoman Bilodeau.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
No.
Councilman Hernandez.
Yes.
Councilman Mictum.
No.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzetti.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Councilman Thomas.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Town Clerk. That is most of, we have gone through our agenda, but I really want to make sure our community and people who are watching television, Hartford Public Access Television Station, that we have a special hybrid public hearing that's going to be happening Like, talk, really? I gotta start over again. So, we've gone through our agenda, and all our agenda, and we have coming to the close of the council meeting. But I want to remind our voters and our listeners that are listening that on June 12th, there is going to be a public hearing at 5 p.m. The public hearing, hybrid, and it's a special hybrid public hearing, is going to be covering our CDBG plan, our 6 p.m. No, I got 5 here in my note, but it's 6 p.m. 6 p.m. And it's going to be covering our CDBG funding, our HPA-AA funding, our ESG funding, and our home funding. So again, there's going to be a special hybrid meeting on June 12th at 6 p.m. here, and you can either come in person or you can sign up and talk to us by hybrid. That's basically it for the night. We have come to our agenda, end of our agenda. Mr. Town Clerk, I am going to call the meeting closed, and we are going to stay safe, and I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Good night, everyone.